Hello. Hi. I know it's been literally like half a year, but I just needed a little bit of a reset, which y'all probably already knew about. But to make a long story short, I have always kind of been grappling with my feelings about doing YouTube and stuff, and I don't know, I've come to the conclusion that I don't want to do it for money because doesn't really make any sense, and it kind of doesn't align with my values and my opinions, I guess. So from here on out, my videos will just be ad free. I won't monetize them, so I can't confirm that there won't be any ads. I mean, I don't know how YouTube does that, but I'm not gonna monetize them because I think that takes the fun out of what I like doing YouTube for, and that's to share my thoughts and opinions about movies and media and like what we're going to be talking about today, which is books. So, yeah, I do like doing like the movie reactions and stuff, but I just doesn't make sense for me to treat it like a job. So, we're just gonna, if I do decide to do videos again in the future, which again, I just don't really have a lot of time now. I have two part-time jobs now, so I'm working like 10-hour days. So, it's just kind of cuckoo bananas over here, but we still have some time to read. Like, that being said, I read a decent amount considering how little time I have, but I also didn't read for like a whole month straight, which is kind of unusual for me. So we're going to be talking about all the books that I read. My goal was 50 and I read 40, and Lord knows we're not hitting that goal by the end of the year. So I read 40 books and we're going to be ranking them today. If you keep count, you will notice that it is not 40 books on here. That's because I didn't count every graphic novel that I read, or like I had like one Spanish book on here that I didn't count because it was like a kid's Spanish book and I just wanted to see if I could figure out what was going on, and I couldn't. So now we know I don't know Spanish, but anyways, that's what we're going to be getting into today. I also wanted to give a quick little update because I know I have a fable and I've talked about that in the past. I think for the new year, I'm not going to be doing a book club just because I'm such a mood reader that I can't figure out what book I want to read too far in advance. And if I'm not liking a book, I just won't pick it up or I won't finish it. Like, it was such a struggle for me to finish Call Me By Your Name. But it was really easy for me to finish Smile for the Camera. So maybe it just depends on the type of book that I pick. Who knows? But maybe I'll start like buddy reads or something. I'm not sure how I want to go about it, but that's what's happening with the Fable and the book club and all that. I just don't really have the energy to continue it, which I know is unfortunate for some of you, but that's just how I've been feeling about it. And also for the new year, I don't think I'm going to be setting a reading goal because I think that kind of defeats the purpose of reading, at least for me, which is to have fun and to find new books and to make me feel something. And if I have like this arbitrary number that like doesn't matter if I hit that goal or not, like in the grand scheme of things, then I don't know, like it just messes me up. So I'm not going to set a goal for next year, or if I do, I'll make it like 2 books so I know I'll hit it. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything I have to say about that. Let's go ahead and get into the books. So yeah, so the categories and the rankings are gonna be very odd because I just thought it'd be fun that way. So at the very bottom we have There's No Way I Read That, which is like forgettable or so bad. Like if someone asked me if I read that book, I would deny it. I didn't read that book. No, that book was so bad. We don't talk about it. Next one up is Not Upset, Just Disappointed, which is like, it still hurts my heart a little bit. And I had high expectations for this book, but it just didn't meet them. So it's unfortunate, you know, that classic saying that, like, you know, like your parents or something, when you like, when they say, oh, you know, I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed. It like hurts in a different type of way. In the middle, we have Something in Between, which is an Olivia Dean song that I'm obsessed with. I've recently become obsessed with Olivia Dean. Little life update on that, and Lily Allen's new album. I've been playing nonstop. The next one up is Needs a Pinch of Salt. So these are books that could have been 5 stars, but it just is missing one little detail. I may or may not know what that detail or thing is to give it that extra pizzazz, but I just can tell it needs one last little thing or feature that would make it a 5 stars. And then the top, we have 15 Minutes, which was my #1 most played song for Spotify. So that's why it's at the top category, because that was my #1 song. And if you can tell, Sabrina Carpenter was my #1 artist. She's always my #1 artist. Okay, so this is like in order of when I read them. So we're gonna start off with Monstrilio, which I read in January, and this one I want to put it in Needs a Pinch of Salt because I gave this 4 stars, and the storytelling was like, I liked the storytelling. I liked the pacing. I liked the writing, but okay, I'll say this. I liked the writing. I liked the pacing, but I didn't really like the storytelling. Also, so sorry if you can hear that. The gardeners are here. But yeah, it's just, I feel like if the storytelling was different, like if it was told in a different format or in a different style or something, I don't know. Because it's like, I did like the writing. This author is obviously a very good author, but there's just something about it that just didn't hit for me. And it's almost like not upset, just disappointed, you know, because I was really had high expectations for this book, but sadly they were not met. And then next we have Cultish, which was a nonfiction book. I'm gonna put it something in between. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like the best thing ever. I can't say for sure if I got any new information or knowledge about any topic coming from reading this book. So I'm not really sure if that's a good thing you want. So next we have She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark. I'm going to put it in not upset, just disappointed, because that's like word for word how I feel about this book. It's a collection of short stories, and I've heard so many things about Eliza Clark being weird, and she's for the weird girlies, and she's kooky and depraved and effed up, and her books are crazy. So I was like, all right, well, let's put that to the test. And this is a recent release. I think this is her most recent release, She's Always Hungry. And there was like maybe one story that I liked that I think about all the time, because they actually say, there's an actual sentence in the book that says, like, she makes me want to go awooga boy yoink. And that's the best thing in the whole book. Is so funny to me. So yeah, unfortunately, I was expecting it. Like, it was weird, but not in a way that was for any reason. Does that make sense? Like, it felt like it was just weird just to be weird. It wasn't really like weird with something else in mind or to mean something else, or you know what I mean? Which is kind of, there's another book on here that is weird for a purpose, and that's what I like, so we'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah, didn't really like this one. Ooh, next we have Open Throat. I'm gonna put it in not upset, just disappointed. Although I gave this book 4 stars when I first read it, that was mainly for the ending. It took the whole first part and middle of the book, which this is a very short book, was kind of random. And I cannot emphasize enough, this book is advertised as it's about a gay mountain lion that lives underneath the Hollywood sign. And I did not get anything of like him being gay. Like he observes other people that are gay. He doesn't, I didn't understand, like, where was he gay? Like, maybe I missed something. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I just didn't see that, or it wasn't as relevant as, like, everyone's making it out to seem. So that was disappointing. I was expecting it to be more on the forefront because that's how it was, like, advertised. So unfortunately, that's not what happened. But the last part of this book, the last ending, last couple of chapters or pages were so good. Like, it goes into like this really weird turn and something crazy happens with this other character, and it's just like, I wish this was like the whole book, honestly. So I'm disappointed that we didn't get more of that. So next we have the Winx Club Volume 1, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that in 15 minutes because I'm obsessed with these Winx Club books. Like, they can do no wrong for me. And it's not like I was a big Winx Club watcher, cartoon watcher when it came out. No one I ever knew ever watched this or talked about it. So I wasn't, I was never exposed to it, but I just thought it was cute, and now I'm obsessed with them. Like, I'm obsessed with them, and it's just very girly, and I love being a girl. So that's going in 15 minutes. It just made me feel like a child again. Next, we have Private Rights by Julia Armfield. This is unfortunately going in not upset, just disappointed, because Julia Armfield is an amazing writer. One of my top books that I always talk about on this channel is Our Wives Under the Sea, which is a lot shorter than Private Rights, but so Private Rights is basically a retelling of King Lear, the play King Lear by Shakespeare, and it's just not, it was just not good. Like, I don't know how to, like, describe it other than the fact that it let me down. Like, hearing that it was about sisters and their complicated relationship because their dad passed away and all this shit goes on. You'll see a theme with these books that I read this year. But, yeah, it just wasn't, they barely interacted with each other. They barely even talked about each other. I thought it was going to be more about their relationships, the sisters' relationships with each other, but it was more about, like, their own separate personal relationships, like romantic and stuff. So, which I didn't really care for, honestly. And it didn't really add anything to the story for me. And again, the ending went to like a completely different road, I guess, and I liked it, but it was just, and I said this in my review when I did a wrap up for this, but the whole time it's leading up to this big tension because you can see that there's all this tension between the sisters, and then we don't even get to see it. It's like retold to us months later from one of the sisters' significant others. So it's like, what the heck? We waited for this big buildup and we don't even get to see it, and someone retells it to us. Someone that it wasn't even involved. Like, it's so stupid. Yeah, very disappointing. Ooh, okay. Next, we have Hey Hun, which was a nonfiction. And we're going to go ahead and put that in 15 minutes because that was just exactly what I wanted. You know, I randomly got interested in MLM stuff, which if you're an OG, you know that I used to do anti-MLM content on this. Still anti-MLM, obviously, but I just wanted to read more about it, and so I found out that there's this nonfiction about this girl who was in an MLM. She made it all the way to the top of the pyramid, and she basically became like an alcoholic and got a DUI, and it was just like all this crazy stuff, like all this, but like it kind of just really shined a light on the type of people that these MLMs go after, like very vulnerable people that are looking for something extra in life, or they're just in a certain place in life where they're needing some support, and these MLM companies and the people in them kind of prey on that, and they kind of, I don't know, it's sad to me, and it just shows like she was one of the people that fell into this, and seeing like how effed up her life became after that. And yeah, so it was such a great story. Honestly, such a great story. My mouth was like, oh. Also, audiobook for memoirs is just a necessity for me. Okay, next, keeping in with the MLM theme, we have Death in the Downline. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in something in between. Like, I wasn't expecting much, so I'm not gonna put it in not upset, just disappointed, because I wasn't expecting it to be like super crazy, but it's basically a fiction about this girl that gets sucked into an MLM, and then murders start happening in the downline, death in the downline. So it was kind of cheesy, but it kept my attention and I kept wanting to read it. So it's in between. Like it did its job of keeping me entertained, but it's not the best thing in the world. Like the writing isn't very good. And there was kind of a lot of typos, which was very random to me. Okay, next we have a book that I actually haven't stopped thinking about since I read it. Very unexpected 5 stars, and that is Blob by Maggie Sue, which is obviously going in 15 minutes. When I talked about this in my reading wrap up, I emphasize, and like I said earlier in this video too, like this book is very odd, but it's not for nothing. Like it's not odd just to be weird and like that's it. Like I think that's kind of the vibe that Otessa Mossbeg books kind of have, where it's like weird just to be weird. This is weird, but like it doesn't take up the whole essence of the book, if that makes sense. It doesn't dim the light of all the other great features of this book. So this one, which I haven't explained what any of these books are about, because I have other videos about these books specifically. So once I get into other ones that I haven't talked about on the channel, then we'll discuss. But this one is about a girl who, outside of like a nightclub or something, she sees this clear, slimy, wet, weirdly shaped blob thing, and she sees that it's alive. Like it's not just like random goop, it's a live thing. So she decides to take it home, and as she's caring for it, it starts to grow into a human almost. And so she decides to like make it her boyfriend and tell it what to look like and everything. So yes, weird plot. Weird plot. What is going on? But that thing that I just told you about is like, yes, that's what it's about, but it's not what it's about at the same time. I can't even, and this book is very short. Like I highly encourage you guys to read it. It's so good. And it's not just like weird shit keeps happening throughout the whole book. Like it's honestly, it gets pretty normal like halfway through, and the whole blob thing, it's like relevant but not relevant at the same time. You know what I mean? Okay, the next 2 I have are the Winx Club's books, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put them both in the 15 minutes. We have the second and the third Winx Club graphic novels. Okay, so next we have Headshot by Rita, I think it's Bullwinkle. I'm gonna go ahead and Needs a Pinch of Salt, because when I first read this, I gave it 4 stars, and I really, really like the way that this is told. So this is about a young women's boxing tournament. Like it's like the end of the year, or just like it's like the big boxing tournament, whatever, for these people. and it talks about them all individually of like their relationship with boxing and how they got into it or how they feel about it or whatever. And basically the stuff that they're thinking about when they're fighting, which I think is just really interesting. And it's told kind of in a tournament style. So it'll be like, oh, so and so versus so and so. And it's about those people. And then it keeps going down the line until you get the winner. So I really, really appreciate it. And I want to read more by this author. However, I feel like it was missing something because it had trouble keeping my attention, even though I was really enjoying this book. So this is an example of I'm not sure exactly what is missing, but something's missing, and I can't put my finger on it, but there's something that I needed more from it, you know? In a similar vein, we have the Decagon House Murders. I'm going to go ahead and put that in needs a pinch of salt because I gave this 4.5 because I love this. Honestly gave me the spark, or yeah, this was like the beginning of me getting into Japanese murder mystery. You know, I do love a good murder mystery, and I read a couple more mystery books in the year, but this one specifically was just so good. It's so readable. My only complaint, I guess, is that it was hard for me to distinguish who was who because there weren't really any defining characteristics, I guess. Because I read the second book by this author, which I feel differently because there were less characters and more defining characteristics, so I can tell who was who. But in this one, it's like everyone's the same grade level. They're all in college, and it's basically like a retelling of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which was a 5-star mystery book to me. And yeah, so this one, I feel like if there was a more, maybe again, there was, and I just like wasn't paying attention, but this one, it was kind of hard to distinguish the people because they're all the same age, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's just like everyone was just kind of similar in a sense of like everyone likes murder mystery and everyone is in the same club and they all go to the same school and they all know the same people. So it's not even like, oh, okay, well, this person's friends with this person. It's like they're all friends with each other. So it's like, how am I supposed to know? I don't know. Okay, next we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I'm contemplating putting this in something in between or not upset, just disappointed. I'm going to put it in something in between because this one, so I've read one other Grady Hendrix book, and this has I have the same opinion or complaint, I guess, which I had with that book. So the other one that I have read by him is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires or something like that. And I feel the same way about both of these books, where the story, okay, like I'm interested, I want to know what happens. He's very, very talented in making you care about the main character or feeling connected to them, or they just feel like real people, right? He can write characters very well in a way that makes you feel like there are people you know in real life, which is marks of a good writer. However, the way he writes women makes me like kind of uncomfortable because it feels kind of like a violation. Like I don't know how to describe it. I just get a weird feeling because it's so like personal of like talking about periods or having sex for the first time or giving birth, and it's like you're a man and you're writing about this. Like it just feels like something's getting taken away from us being girls, I guess. Something got taken away, like they intruded on something. I don't know. It just feels kind of weird. Like the story itself was really good, so that's why I have it in something in between. But on the flip side, like, I don't think the story was good enough to overshadow that icky feeling I got from reading this book, or after reading this book, I guess. And also, this book is barely about witchcraft. Like, yes, it is in the story and it is relevant, I guess, but it's like stuff would happen and they would be like, well, what are we gonna do about this? We could do this or that. And I'm like, they themselves would forget that they're witches. I'm like, you guys can like create a hex or a spell, you know? And they're like, oh yeah, we're witches. And like, what? That's the whole point of this freaking book. So very odd to me. Okay, next we have a very, very interesting, very interesting book. And that is One's Company. Who's this by? Ashley Hudson. Part of me wants to put it in 15 minutes because at the time I didn't give it 5 stars, but letting it rest a little bit makes me want to give it 5 stars. Like, it was really, really incredible. It was and wasn't what I was expecting. So this book is very odd. It's about this girl who already is very depressed, and then all of a sudden she wins the lottery, which is, that in and of itself I feel like is interesting, at least for me. I kind of like books with like no plot. But on top of that, so she wins the lottery and she's very obsessed with the 70s show Three's Company. So she decides to take her money and to go live in the middle of the woods and recreate every detail, very authentic size, every prop and every little thing you can think of, recreate the entire set of Three's Company, from like the streets that they walk on, from like, she's literally creating like a whole Hollywood set, like in the middle of the woods, the house, and then she decides that she's going to like role play as them as every character for as long as it takes, right? So this book spans a very long time and not a lot happens until the end. So if you don't like books where it's very slow, like this is a very slow book, but it's so interesting to me because like this crazy thing also happened in her past and you can tell that she's obviously trying to not think about it and move on from it, I guess we should say. It's very fascinating how she deals with this. Like, so much traumatic stuff happens in her life. It's crazy. And then I don't know. I just think a lot about like this setting. Like, this book played the movie in my head. It's so vivid even in my mind now, and I read this like 7 months ago. Like, it's so, I remember what I imagined when I read this book. So that intrigues you in any bit, definitely read this book. Okay, next we have just a fun, lighthearted read, but one I was not expecting to give 5 stars, and that is Dad Camp. So I'm obviously putting this in 15 minutes. This is by Evan Porter. And this is just a fun, cute little book that I just picked up in Barnes & Noble. I didn't have any idea like what this was going to be about, but it's about a dad who has a 14-year-old daughter and he feels like they're kind of drifting apart. You know, they used to be super close when she was a kid growing up, and now that she's becoming like a teenager and entering high school, she doesn't really want to hang out with her dad anymore. You know, it's not cool. So desperate to have some sort of like connection with her and to keep that bond, you know, strong, he signs her up for this dad camp. So it's like a daddy-daughter camp thing, and it's like a week long. And it's very cute seeing like how much he cares about her and how much he wants to like protect her, but also like not embarrass her, and him basically grappling with the fact that she's growing up and whatever. It felt like I was watching a Modern Family episode. You know what I mean? So, where it's like, it did touch on like some deeper things, but it still like genuinely made me laugh out loud. This is one of the funniest books I've ever read in my whole life. And yeah, and it just like tied everything together in the end, and it was just happy, good, feel good books, you know? So I think describing it like an episode of Modern Family is the perfect description. It's exactly that. Okay, next we have Blue Sisters by Coco Melors. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in needs a pinch of salt because, much like Private Rights, this is also about a group of sisters dealing with the death of their fourth youngest sister, who took her own life, unfortunately. So they're all dealing with that, kind of blaming each other, growing distant, and then they have to come back together to like help clean up her apartment and all that. So a lot of tension, a lot of triggers. And this one is more focused also, like, this one is more focused on the sisters individually, but there's so much more sister interaction that this is above Private Rights for me, because there's so much more interaction, and like the way they go about their personal relationships or romantic relationships or whatever makes so much more sense when you see how the other sisters interact with each other. You know what I mean? So I think for the needs a pinch of salt, the way things got resolved in the end, I feel like was kind of unrealistic. No one said sorry. No one communicated. They kind of just like, they just didn't even communicate. They just were like, oh, whatever, hanging out, having a fun time. Oh, we have fun times together. And I'm like, are we going to talk about that giant fight that you guys had like a week ago? It seems unhealthy to me. So that's why it needs a pinch of salt. There was a little bit better communication in there, clear boundaries. Maybe I would put this up in 15 minutes, but that didn't happen. Okay, next we have State of Paradise by Laura Vanderberg. I'm going to put this in something in between because I think the way that this book was described to me was not accurate, or the blurb on this book was not accurate. So let me tell you what it's actually about. It's about this girl hating Florida. Like straight up. And also it is about, I don't know, technology, I guess. So it's kind of hard to describe. It's kind of like the metaverse. You know, it's in a world where, you know, those goggles or whatever are real and you can like enter other like realities or something like that. It's kind of weird, but very intriguing. This one was really hard to follow sometimes. I don't know if it was the way it was written or what, but I have very vivid memories of me reading this book as well. Like I remember parts of the story very vividly, but I will say that is mainly in part due to me listening to it as an audiobook. That definitely helped me follow through. But yeah, so it's a little hard to follow at times, but still an interesting read. So it's about Florida, and like, I guess how it's described on the blurb is like random plot holes, but like random potholes start to like open up randomly in Florida and like swallow people up and like swallow things up, and it's just, it has to do with technology and stuff. I don't know. So like, I would recommend it, I guess, if you're in a very specific mood and you're like into watching like Black Mirror or something. Like maybe if a new season of Black Mirror came out, I'd be like, hey, if you're into that, you should read this. But aside from that, I wouldn't really recommend this book. Okay, so we're getting into like our first, yeah, actually, maybe not, and there's no way I read that. I'd probably put it in not upset, just disappointed. So nothing's really getting, there's no way I read that. I can already tell which book I want to put in that category, to be completely honest. But Jillian by Haley Butler. I think this is just the perfect way to describe it, is I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed. This is about these two coworkers. One of them, I don't even know her name, is she hates her coworker named Jillian. Like, she thinks she's just, oh, she thinks she's so perfect. Her life is great and blah, blah, blah. But what made me like this book a little bit more is we got to also see Jillian's point of view and how her life is actually like falling apart and how she's just trying to keep a positive attitude. And meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, you have this coworker that's like, oh my gosh, I hate Jillian. She thinks she's the best and her life is so great. So it's like, I don't know, just like you can't judge. Everyone's going through something, basically. You can't judge a book by its cover, whatever the moral is. I just didn't really like the ending. It just like never really went anywhere. They never really interacted or it never came to a head. It was just like, she didn't like Jillian and Jillian's life is falling apart. The end. I'm like, oh, like I thought that they would interact. There'd be some sort of conclusion. They would be falling out or like an argument or something. Like nothing really happened from it. So yeah, but the audiobook for this is very funny. Like the way that the narrator, like the cadence that she chose for Jillian and for, it's just so funny. So funny. Next I read Happy Hour by, what's her name? Marlo Granados. I'm gonna put in something in between. Honestly, I wasn't too fond of this book. It's basically Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where it's about like this girl and she has her diary and they go out and they do crazy stuff, her and her bestie, but that's about it. Like, if you're in for a happy, fun, good time of like, oh my gosh, all this crazy stuff happens, us girls getting into bullshit, maybe you would like this, but to me, it just wasn't really that interesting to me, unfortunately, so something in between. Oof, okay. Next, we have another unexpected 5 stars, which I feel like I gave these books, a lot of my reads this year are 5 stars. And that is She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock. That's obviously going in 15 minutes. This book is so weird. It's always the books I don't expect to be 5 stars that are 5 stars. I did not expect Blob to be 5 stars. I just thought it was like funny. And I don't know, when I think a book is weird and kooky and I'm like, I just want to see how the story goes, I don't think it'll be a 5 stars. Like, what's a weird and kooky one? Like Happy Hour or State of Paradise or Open Throat. I'm like, hey, weird and kooky plot, but I'm not expecting it to be 5 stars. Monstrelia as well. So when it does or it evokes some sort of emotion out of me, then it's like, oh shit. Like Blob, I cried. One's Company, I cried. Dad Camp, I cried. She's a Lamb, I don't know if I cried, but I definitely was the most entertained out of all the books that I read this year. That book was the most entertaining that I've ever read. It is crazy. It's so readable. So it's about this girl who she's kind of like Rachel from Glee. She thinks she's the best at everything, at singing, acting. Like she wants to be a very famous actor and she just wants to be famous, honestly, just in general. And she thinks pretty much everyone is below her, even though her life is not the best. You know, she's not in the high of her life right now, but there's auditions for The Sound of Music, and she's like, oh my gosh, I would be a perfect Maria. Like, I was born for that role. And basically, like, her arch nemesis, someone that she has competition with, gets the part. So she doesn't get the part. So now it's about her trying to either cope with that or trying to find a way for her to, the person who did get the part. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. Like, I feel like this is also a Black Mirror episode. Maybe Black Mirror isn't the way to describe it, but I don't know. I can just totally see this being an episode of a show, I guess, like Black Mirror. I mean, it has nothing really to do with like technology or, you know what I mean? But it's just the way that she goes about life it feels like a character from Black Mirror, you know what I'm saying? She's just so delusional and it's so funny to me. And you honestly do feel bad for her because you get more backstory about her and like why she is the way that she is. So you feel bad for her, but dang, it's just it was so entertaining. I highly, highly recommend this book. Okay, next we have Brutes. I'm gonna put in not upset, just disappointed. This is by Diz Tate. So I was told that this, or at least this was described as the Virgin Suicides meets something else. I don't even know. And like, yes, it is Virgin Suicides-esque, where it's about like these group of girls, group of friends, and they kind of fawn over this older girl that lives in their town and then she goes missing or something. So it was just so boring. Like, honestly, it was just so boring. I just don't even care to recall it to you. It was so boring. Nothing happened. We didn't get any info about anyone. And I honestly forgot that I read it. But I'm glad that I got it over with because people were hyping it up. But like, I'm glad that I finally put it out of my mind. Like, reading it helped finally like close that chapter of like, oh, maybe I will read it, maybe I won't. I feel like I might like it. I finally read it and I decided I don't like it. Okay, next we have another nonfiction, The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Obviously going in 15 minutes. This is just a very small, slow book about the serviceberry and how important it is to our ecosystem. Could I really recall any information about this? No. Do I remember the feeling that I got from it? Yes. And Robin Wall Kimmerer has the best voice for audiobooks ever. Okay, next we have our first book that's actually going in the bottom category. And that is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. This book was the stupidest book I've ever read. One of them. There's another book on here that we'll talk about that is one of the stupidest books I've ever read. Listen, so this is described as And Then There Were None meets Murder on Orient Express. Right, I think that's what I put in my review. But if you've read either of those books, then you already can guess what the plot is and what happens and who the killer is. They're on a train and people start dying. Whatever. It baffles me that Riley Sager can put out a book like this where it's so bad. And then also a book like Middle of the Night, which I loved last year. And I gave that 5 stars. I guess versatility. You know what I mean? He's got a range, and I just really disliked this book. It was so boring, and so much happened to the point where like nothing happened. You know what I mean? I hated it. It was so stupid. I felt like I wasted my time. Okay, next. We have another book, which I'll talk about this in a little bit later as well. But we have Native Son by Richard Wright, which is obviously going in 15 minutes. This is literally the best book. I mean, I guess spoiler, this is the best book I read this year. I mean, I have not stopped thinking about it, and it was a behemoth of a book. I was really afraid to get into it because it's very big, but it's so readable, and it's a classic, so I was afraid it was going to be like very flowery, very eloquent, and difficult to read words, like actually physically, mentally hard to read and understand. But it really wasn't. It was very accessible. The only intimidating part is its length, but it needed to be that long. Like I feel like there's no better book that really goes into like the mind of a character better than this book. Oh my gosh, like it's so good. So what the premise is it's about this young Black man in the 1960s Chicago, I believe, and he is accused of murdering a young white woman. And it's the 60s, so I think you can figure out like the chaos of that. So it's a lot. It's just it talks a lot about race and class and gender and like everything that it could talk about, it talks about. And it was done so well. It makes me want to read more by Richard Wright. I also have his autobiography, I believe, called Black Boy, but I obviously haven't read that yet, but I want to. Ooh, okay, next we have another unexpected 5 stars, and that is episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. So this one I feel like needs to be consumed as an audiobook because it has a full cast and it also has sound effects and sound bites, and it creates a whole ambiance, right? It's not just people talking and that's it. It creates the whole mood and setting for this. So that also played the movie in my head. This book is about a group of like ghost hunting. It's like a ghost hunting show, you know, that's on TV. And this is episode 13 of this show. And they go to their scariest haunt yet. And shit goes down. I kind of describe this as Barbarian meets Late Night with the Devil with a hint of triangle. So I don't want to give away too much, but there's little pieces of each of those movies in this book. So if you like either of those movies, you will like this book. Very fascinating and genuinely freaked me out, which I guess is the goal, you know, for a horror book. Oof. Okay, next we have Call Me By Your Name. This was our first book for the Petal Pages book club, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in something in between because unfortunately this just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I mean, like, yes and no. I've never seen the movie. I thought more would happen, but I guess not. I don't know. Maybe that's just on me because I've never seen the movie. I thought more stuff would happen, and it didn't. And, you know, like I said, if you can tell by like my favorite books, I like books that are you really understand that main character. You go into like everything that character thinks about what it's like you truly understand how this character thinks. And I don't really feel like I could say that with Call Me By Your Name. So I might just have to watch the movie because it might be better than the book. Who knows? Very All Too Well-esque, I would say, the ending at least. But yeah, the 10-minute version. Ooh, okay, next we have This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. I'm going to go ahead and put that in needs a pinch of salt because this book was... The way it was described to me, I feel like is not even what happened in the book at all. And I get not wanting to give too much away about a book because you want people to, I don't know, be surprised and you don't want to spoil anything. But at the same time, I need to just stop looking at blurbs. I don't know. I have no idea like how to solve this issue of mine. But this book is about this couple and the wife dies and the husband is trying to deal with that trauma, I guess. And during all of that, during him trying to deal with all of that, he starts to notice weird things going on in his house, weird noises, weird little whatevers, you know, start to go on. So he's just trying to figure that out. And I guess I can't really give more away, but it goes into a way you didn't know it was gonna go. Did this make me sad? Yes. Did I cry? No. Well, did I cry? There's a dog. I'll tell you that much. So maybe that would make you cry. I don't know. I do encourage you to read this, but be prepared for it to be very slow and very confusing, and nothing really crazy or, I don't know, action packed will happen until literally like the very last part of this book. So just be prepared for that. But it is um an interesting read. Like, I am glad that I read it, you know? Okay, next is our next book that we read for our book club, and that is Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in something in between because kind of like the same thing as Death in the Downline. This wasn't a bad book. I didn't really like the way it went, but also it was entertaining. So like it did its job, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be, or it didn't really end in the way that I had hoped. But it was entertaining, and that we have to appreciate, you know? Next we have I think my only arc that I read this year, which is crazy, and that is What Hunger by Catherine Dang. If you know, you know. This is going in 15 minutes. Easily the best book. Or it's not easily the best book because Native Son. But like if I had to rank it, I would say Native Son is 1 and then What Hunger is 2. I started crying literally within the first 15 minutes of me reading this book. If you can evoke that emotion for me, the first chapter of this book, then you know that you are a talented writer. Like, the fact that that happened is honestly crazy to me. Catherine Dang is an amazing writer. So, this is about a family and something crazy, which it's not really like spoiled in the blurb, but it's not even a spoiler if I tell you this at all. But anyways, so it's about this family, and there's a daughter and a son, and the son passes away, and it's about the sister dealing with that. So the POV is from the sister's perspective, POV. So she's dealing with all that, and then something else on top of that. So it's kind of about like when you're already at your wit's end, and then more bullshit happens in your life, and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go balls to the wall. And it's called What Hunger. So she a certain type of hunger, I guess I will say, is uprooted in her. I don't know how to describe it, but she starts going balls to the wall and like not giving an F about anything, which is crazy. But seeing their relationship, like the sister and the brother and the parents, and oh my gosh, and she just felt like such a real person. Like, she wrote the sister in such a way that's so like, yes, I know exactly what she means. I know what she feels. I understand her. Like, I understood her through and through. And this book made me cry multiple times. So, my last video of my vlog, that is what I read and finished in that one. So now we have all new books that you guys didn't even know I read. Okay, next we have Everything You Ever Wanted by Louisa Soma. I don't know. I think I want to put this in Needs a Pinch of Salt. This is about it's the future, and basically there has been a discovery on another planet that makes it sustainable for us to like live there. So only a select few. So this huge company basically decides to build a little pod on this planet and send all these people through this wormhole, basically. Send all these people there. And it's like a competition. Like, you had to like audition and apply to be one of the 1,000 people that go to live on this planet, right? So that's what it's about. This girl applies, she gets it, and then she goes to this planet. And the catch is that you cannot come back. Like, people can write to you, or people can like no. What is it? Okay, so So these people go, and it's also like Big Brother-esque, like it's a TV show as well. So people on Earth can see everything that's going on this planet, but you on the planet cannot have contact with anybody on Earth. So just think about the type of place you would have to be in order to want to do something like this, where you go to another planet, never to see anyone from Earth ever again, and have no contact. So it's about that, and it's also just kind of funnily about these people that are just big, like these big companies that are like, oh my gosh, we're doing this crazy thing, and it's like obviously no thought was like really put into it, because stuff quickly, very quickly goes awry. Like, how are you supposed to sustain life for all these people? Like, where would you get the food? You know what I mean? So anyways, things go quickly awry, and the way it ended was just like so interesting and crazy, and I thought it was very, very good. And I have thought about this. I don't know. It's another one where I'm like, I don't know what else it needed. It needed something to make it into the top category, but I, for some reason, cannot put it there. I don't know. It needs something. One last little thing, you know? Oh my gosh. Okay, next we have our only last book to be in this bottom category, which is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesney. Ken Kesney. So, to give you context, I've never seen this movie. And I thought this, and I'm a classics type of girl. I love classics. I understand them for the most part. You know, Native Son was another classic written around the same time. So it's like, I like classics. This was the most boring book ever. It was so, like, nothing was happening. I thought it was going to be more about, like, this, I don't know. I think we just needed something in there to be like, this is what we're working towards. Like, it's, I'm sure you guys know the story of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but it's about this psychiatric ward, I guess, mental hospital, and so a new guy comes there to, you know, another guy comes to the hospital, right? Another patient enters the hospital, and he just starts like an uprising, basically, but also like not at the same time. Like Nurse Ratched, I didn't know she was from this story. Again, maybe it's just a me thing. Like maybe it's for the guys, because I don't understand. Like I was like, I don't know. Like I was like, I don't know. Nurse Ratched doesn't seem like all that bad to me. I mean, yes, she's done like bad things, but it just seems like she's trying to do her job. Like I don't know if it's just the time and place, but this was such a slog to get through. I was fighting tooth and nail to finish this book, and that's not good. So I gave it like 2 stars, and I don't even know what for, honestly. There were some lines that I thought were really good, but that's about it. Like the story was boring and like didn't go anywhere. Yeah, this just was not for me, and I apologize for that. Okay, we had the last Winx Club book, so that goes without saying, into 15 minutes. Next, we have A Marriage at Sea. This is a nonfiction book by Sophie Elmhurst, and this is about a couple that decide to literally live their lives on a boat. Like they get rid of all their possessions and straight up like go rogue, you know, bare bones it all, and they go and live on this boat, and then things go awry. The ship gets hit by a freaking whale, and so they abandon ship, live on this little like lifeboat for, I don't even know, like 4 months. And it's just crazy. Like and it's a true story. Yeah, my only complaint is that there was like no pictures. I would have really appreciated pictures. newspaper clippings, like anything to kind of tie it into, I don't know, just to make it more visual, I guess. It was, again, very interesting story, very crazy that this happened. I think this was like the 80s or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I recommend it. It was a good read. Next, we have The Mill House Murder. So this is the second book in that series by the same author that did Decagon House Murders. This one I'm also putting in needs a pinch of salt because it was very good, and there's like a weirdness in it. There's a weird aspect to it that I'm surprised doesn't really get talked about more. Maybe it's just because it's like a cultural thing. Like, I just didn't know why this was like this and why, I don't know. It just like made me uncomfortable. I'm like, what is going on? No one's talking about this. Like, there was one comment about it and then that was it. So I was like, okay. But yes, this one is about, I feel like a lot kind of happens. There's a lot that it's about. So it's about this famous artist, the famous artist's son. So the famous artist is like an old guy, whatever, he died a long time ago. Doesn't matter. It's not relevant. But this is about the famous artist's son who every year invites like 3 people to see this artist's works. He lives in this like remote island, blah, blah, blah. And then someone died and it was like crazy, crazy. Or 2 people died and it was crazy, crazy. And now the story is being told from a year later, same thing. Like, he has this yearly, like, okay, these people are going to come and view these paintings. So it's a year later, and the same detective from the Decagon House Murders comes to the Mill House and is like, I think there's some foul play afoot. I don't think those people just randomly died. I think that they were murdered. And you're trying to figure out what it is. I kind of guessed the twist early, maybe like halfway through, but that doesn't take away from the entertaining factor. It's still entertaining, and that's what we're here for. Okay, next we have Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in something in between because, again, the concept for this is very interesting. I kind of want to put it in disappointed. Yeah, I'm gonna move it in disappointed. Okay, so the concept for this is so fascinating. It's about this one day that happened a year ago. This is told a year later. This one day that happened where all these freak accidents happened not only on the same day, but at the same exact time. And it's like Final Destination, like weird ways to die, like random manholes open up and swallow people, or a monkey with a typewriter bashes someone's head in, or someone gets stabbed to death with an umbrella. Like, very random, obscure ways to die. And so this woman that this book is, the POV is from, she is a statistics professor, probability professor more specifically, and she is kind of very depressed because she believes that once this crazy event happens, that there's no meaning or purpose in life because everything that she studied for has no meaning. It was all for nothing because random freak accidents like this can just happen and there's no probability or way of detecting it, predicting it. So this detective approaches her, this is I think like a year later, and is like, hey, I think this wasn't just a freak thing. I need your help figuring this out because I think that this casino in Vegas is the cause of all this. So you're like, what? How are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? And I'm still so confused about what happened in this book. Oh my gosh, it's so confusing. I feel like I accidentally skipped a whole chapter or something because I'm like, I still don't understand how we got to where we got to. And without giving anything away, I don't think a probability statistics professor is the professor you should have brought onto this trip, act detective. I don't think it should have been a probability professor. It should have been a different type of professor, but without giving anything away. That's how I feel about it. So it was disappointing because it's just such a cool concept, but I don't really think it was executed in a way that made sense for anyone. I don't even think the author knew how they were gonna make it make sense. And it didn't. So, there you go. Okay, the last book that I read and actually finished this year is called American Bulk by Emily Mester. And I'm gonna put it in something in between. So this is a nonfiction, and this is just short little essays about excess. It's called Essays on Excess. And I thought it was going to be more about how us as a society consume a lot. And I thought it was going to be a little more factual, like facts, and I don't know. This was actually just about this girl's life. I just read a memoir, which is fine, but I just didn't know that was what it was going to be about. It really wasn't about American Bulk. It was about her family's relationship with each other and her grandma and her dad having all these issues and her experience at fat camp and stuff, which again, all this stuff was very interesting, but it just was not a book about bulk or excess and stuff. The only thing was that her mom, or not her mom, her grandma was a hoarder, and she had to go and clean out her house and stuff, and the contrast of that with her great grandparents and I don't know. So again, it was interesting, but not really what I was expecting it to be. So that's everything. I'm gonna go ahead and give my top 5 of the year, which there pretty much only is 5 now looking at it. But I would say number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay. Number 5, we'll do episode 13. Just for the sheer enjoyment and excitement that that book gave in my heart and soul. At number 4, we're going to go ahead and do What Hunger for the emotion that I felt so early on. We'll do She's a Lamb at number 3. Again, for the entertaining factor. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, number 2, we'll do Blob because it was just so unexpected, and I still think about it. And I read that book in February, so it's been almost a year, and I still think about it, which is crazy. And then number 1, we're gonna have Native Son because I think everyone should read that. I think that should be required reading. So important, so necessary. So to close out this video, I'll talk a little bit about what I am currently reading. I'm currently reading this nonfiction book called Dinner with King Tut, and it's about how rogue archaeologists are trying to recreate the sights, sounds, smells, tastes of ancient civilizations. So each chapter is a different ancient civilization. So we had Turkey, Egypt. I'm on the Rome chapter right now. There was a Polynesian one. So it's just about different civilizations and how archaeologists are trying to recreate the food that they would make then, or camp out, or try to recreate a hut and try to live and see what it was actually like, very specific stuff like that. So anyways, very interesting. I've been really in a nonfiction kick right now. That's currently what I'm reading right now, and it's a bigger book, so it's taking me a longer time to finish it. So that's kind of why I don't really have any reading goals, because I want to allow myself to be able to read longer books, and having a reading goal, a number, makes it so I feel like I can't read those because it's too long and I won't be able to hit my goal. And I don't want to not read books because of that. So that is what I've been reading lately. So thank you guys for watching this. If you watched all the way through, that's awesome. I don't know. That's cool. And yeah, I'm hoping to do one of these every year. And I hope you guys have had a great holiday season. I'm looking forward to 2026. Tell me what you're reading right now or what your favorite book of the year was if you have a number one. I know that's a big ask, but if you have a favorite book of the year, let me know what it was. Thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you in the new year. Bye!